Okay, we are now recorded. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joshua Schrader. I am the Science and Operations Officer here at the National Weather Service office in Brownsville, serving the Rio Grande Valley and all of Deep South Texas. I'm kind of pinch hitting for Barry Goldsmith today, who many of you know very well from over the years. But I'm going to talk about the flash flooding and the severe weather potential for this weekend, primarily from tonight into Sunday and maybe even a little bit beyond that. Obviously, a busy weekend for outdoor activities with Mother's Day on Sunday, graduation ceremonies for universities and colleges across the area. Um, and we will be providing an update sometime tomorrow, probably early afternoon. It may be an email briefing or maybe possibly another webinar, depending how things kind of evolve between now and then. So what's going on? This is what we call the water vapor satellite image. And as you know, here in the area, it's very warm, muggy outside, very high dew points. The air mass, as we call it, over us is very warm and unstable. And combined with the disturbance in the upper levels of the atmosphere out here, kind of over Chihuahua and Sonora states in neighboring Mexico, you can see the what we call an upper level trough here, the moisture being pulled up ahead of it. Southeast winds at the surface keeping the low level moisture pumped in. So as that disturbance slowly approaches, it's going to trigger several rounds of showers and thunderstorms between, like I said, starting as soon as this evening and extending at least into Sunday. So heavy rainfall and flash flooding is expected to be the primary threat. However, some of these storms may be up to severe limits with wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour and large hail of 1 inch or more. A tornado or two cannot be totally ruled out, particularly on Saturday. As far as a quick summary of the rainfall, expected rainfall amounts, this is through Sunday evening, let's say, or maybe into early Monday morning. 3 to 5 inches in Brooks, Hidalgo counties westward through Zapata County, and 2 to 4 inches elsewhere. But perhaps some local amounts as high as 8 inches when all this is said and done. And you know, as you know, the problem isn't always just how much rain falls, but how fast it falls. With the very moist air mass in place, there is the potential for some pretty extreme rainfall rates of 2 to 3 inches per hour, which is enough to cause problems pretty much anywhere. So we are expecting some instances of flash flooding, which I'll talk about in a little more detail in a bit. Some of those could be significant, especially up in the Rio Grande Plains area. As far as timing, this is where it gets a little tricky. As I sit here in my office looking at the radar, there's already a few thunderstorms developing, well to our west, a couple hundred miles away over the higher terrain of the Sierra Madres in Mexico. And the short range modeling indicates that we're expecting clusters of thunderstorms to develop both off to our west and to our north this evening into the overnight. And these may propagate into the northern ranchlands or upper Rio Grande Valley overnight, or possibly even into the lower RGV by early Saturday. But again, the timing of how this unfolds is still kind of uncertain. So storms may be ongoing early tomorrow morning. If they don't make it into the mid and lower valley where most of the population lives, those areas would be more likely to see redevelopment Saturday afternoon into the evening and possibly lasting well into the night. So we issued a flash flood watch yesterday, and we've now backed up the beginning of that timing. So that's now going to be starting at 1 a.m. tonight, and then going through at least midday on Sunday. So this covers the entire area. Again, the area of most concern is out here in Star, Zapata, and Jim Hogg counties at the moment. The drought has largely been removed. Soil moisture is kind of at normal levels. But again, those high rainfall rates will be enough to cause some problematic flooding somewhere. It won't be everywhere, but somebody out there is probably going to have a hard time with flooding this weekend. Potential rainfall totals, these have kind of stabilized the last couple of forecast cycles, and don't take these numbers literally here. They might not look all that impressive in some areas. Generally speaking, though, we are expecting higher totals west, maybe a little bit lower east. but it all comes down to how fast that rain comes down. And again, the darker reds here, it's not necessarily labeled, but those are 4 to 6 inch totals through Sunday night. And that's what we call an aerial average. So that means, spots in these areas could pick up 6 to 8, maybe up to 10 inches of rainfall, according to some of the model solutions, between now and early Monday morning or Sunday night, especially up through Stars, Zapata, and Jim Hogg counties. And flooding, of course, is determined by the rainfall rate, the rainfall total, and how good or poor the drainage may be in that location. So this graphic is, it's kind of showing the chances of exceeding 5 inches of rainfall between now and Monday morning. We showed this similar graphic in our partner email sent out yesterday. But just real quickly here, the higher chances of seeing more than 5 inches of rain are kind of focused along the Rio Grande and up into Jim Hogg County. Generally 20 to 40% chance of that happening. A little bit less likely as you move further south along the Rio Grande to see over 5 inches of rain. The excessive rainfall outlooks, and we'll go step through this kind of one day at a time. This is Friday or today, Saturday, and then Sunday. So for the today period, which actually ends at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, most of the area is what we call a slight risk for excessive rainfall. In a little corner of Zapata County, actually in the moderate category, which we don't see too often. As we head into Saturday, pretty much the entire area except a little sliver of southeastern Cameron County here, which I wouldn't put too much stock in, is in the moderate risk for excessive rainfall. And I'll give a little bit more details about what these categories kind of mean on the next slide. But really, we're kind of focusing on Saturday. It could be early in the day, or it could be redevelopment later on in the afternoon and the evening. And then even into Sunday, this graphic hasn't officially updated yet, but basically you're going to see all of this yellow area, the slight risk of excessive rainfall, expanded to cover all of deep South Texas and the Rio Grande Valley. So what do these categories mean? I'll start with the highest one first, the moderate risk in that area, and this is particularly kind of zoning in on Saturday. Numerous flash flooding events with some significant events possible. Many streams may flood. Not too much, we're not expecting too much issues as far as river flooding on the Rio Grande at this point, but the possibility is there if it becomes a prolonged rainfall event. In the slight category, which is kind of most of the rest of the time period we're talking about, scattered flash floods possible, a little bit more localized, more vulnerable in urban areas, roads, small streams, arroyos, washes. And even in the slight category, isolated significant flash floods are still possible. Now, we kind of have a dual threat with this event. Flooding rain is the primary, but we also have the threat of what we call severe weather, which of course means wind gusts of 60 miles per hour or more, hail of 1 inch size or larger, and any tornadoes. So again, we'll go left to right, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So for day into tonight, there's a slight risk in that little sliver of northwestern Zapata County and closer to Laredo. And then much of the northern ranch lands and upper valley in a marginal risk of severe weather into tonight. But then as we get into tomorrow, Saturday, again, the entire area is in that slight risk, which is basically category 2 out of 5 on the severe weather scale. And then for now, it looks like Sunday may back off on the severe threat, but still the heavy rainfall threat will remain. Depending how the clusters of storms evolve, the biggest threats in terms of severe weather would be damaging winds up to 60 miles per hour, maybe even a little bit more in some places, hail up to 1 inch or more in size. And like I mentioned before, a tornado or two cannot be ruled out due to some of the wind shear conditions we're seeing in the atmosphere. Well, I remind everybody, stay safe when traveling this weekend, especially if you're out and about for Mother's Day activities. It doesn't take much water to knock your car out of control and take control of it. Water moves with a very great force, especially when it's moving at a fast speed. We always tell people to turn around, don't drown. So just some of the key takeaways here real quick. The flash flooding and the severe weather potential both peak on Saturday, though it begins kind of tonight. Kind of our area of greatest concern right now is from the upper valley into the Rio Grande Plains. The highest risk of flash flooding is centered on later Friday night through Saturday night, though it will come in several rounds of those clusters of thunderstorms whose timing is still a little bit uncertain. It looks like we will have one round maybe late tonight and then possibly another one through the day Saturday and maybe lesser on Sunday as well. We could see up to 3 or more feet of water depth where the heaviest rainfall rates occur, up to or over 2 inches per hour, especially in poor drainage locations. And the longer and stronger the rain, the higher the water depth. And even looking ahead, looks like we don't really dry out anytime soon. More spotty heavy rainfall could continue into early next week, as late as Tuesday or Wednesday. And by then, some of those soils will be pretty saturated, at least in some areas. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as well. And then possibly a little bit drier toward Thursday or Friday of next week. But that's a little bit more uncertain as we get farther out in time. So overall, confidence on this event is, I would say, we'll call it medium to high. Confidence is pretty high now that we will at least have some areas of heavy rain and flash flooding over the weekend. Confidence in terms of timing of the heaviest rainfall and how the severe weather threat will unfold is a little bit lower, but still in the medium range on our confidence for that. So as you know, you can call us anytime, check back on our website, follow us on social media, and we will have at a minimum an email update tomorrow by early afternoon and possibly another webinar, depending how the outlooks shape up for Saturday looking ahead to Sunday. So with that, I thank you for your attention, and I will open up the audio so folks can unmute themselves and ask questions if they wish. Or if you type them in the question box, I should be able to see them as well. So let me go ahead and okay, everyone should now be able to unmute themselves if they wish to ask a question, and I'll be standing by for those. Any questions from anyone? As I mentioned, we will make the recording of this webinar available shortly afterwards, and we'll send out that link to everyone.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thanks for joining us. I'll stand by just for a minute to see if there are any questions, but I see folks starting to drop off. Thanks again, and be sure to stay safe this weekend. Okay, I think I will stop the recording.